Otherwise, I have came with an optimization type of question, which says in a home industry, the total cost of producing X number of cakes per day is given by that. And then the price at which they are sold is given by that. Okay, I'm not going to pronounce those numbers with X's. I hate X's. You know X's. So now, the first question says, show that the profit made is given by the formula, is given by that formula. We have to show that. Okay, fine. But let me first explain and break down what is happening in this case. So, we are being asked about the profit. How do I find the profit? To find the profit, it's simple. You must use this formula. Profit is equal to the total revenue minus the total cost. Okay, so what do you mean by total revenue? What I mean by total revenue, let's say we okay, let's just say the cost of scones. Let's say the cost of scones, for example, is actually 40 rand. I want to make example by scones. I love scones. So, but when you're going to sell how many scones? You're going to sell 10 scones. Okay. You're going to sell 10 scones, and then each scones is 5 rand each. So the total revenue that you're going to get, your total, let me just say TR, is going to be the number of scones multiplied by the the cost of each. Okay, which means that is going to give you a 50, but their cost was actually 40 rand. Okay, the cost, I mean the amount you use to buy everything to produce coins over there. Okay, fine. So to get the profit, you are going to take 50 and then you take away 40, which will give you 10 rand. So that is your profit, and we're going to apply the same theory in this case. We're going to apply the same theory, but in this case, what we're going to do, okay, we're going to say profit, or the profit will be equal to the number of each cake, the number of cake paid sold per day, multiplied by the price at which one is sold, which is 50, minus 1 over 2 x. Take away what? The total cost. Take away the total cost, which is 1 over 4 x squared plus 35 plus 25 over there. So now this is going to, when you solve this, here you have 50x, and then over there you have 1 over 2 x squared, and then now here you're just going to multiply. You assume that there is -1, it's -1 over there, so you're going to multiply the bracket out. That's going to give you 1 over 4 x squared, and then that's going to give you -35, or there is x, by the way, -35 x, and then minus 25 over there. So now it's simple math. You just simplify over here. When you take this and this, you're going to get -3 over 4 x squared, and then when you take this and this, you get positive 15x, and then when you, this one is just -25. That's your profit. Okay, fine. So now you're good. You have dealt with the issue of profit, or profit, that you're required to find in that case. So the second question says, calculate the daily output of the cakes to obtain maximum profit. Daily output of the profit to obtain a maximum profit. So now, in calculus, when we talk about the maximum, yeah, we're going to talk about the first derivative being equal to a 0. Okay, your first derivative being equal to a 0. So the first derivative of the profit derivative, is going to give us negative. Should it give us -3 over 2x? Yes, -3 over 2x, and then plus a 15 over there. This is the first derivative. When you derivate this thing, this is what you get. And then you're supposed to equate that derivative to a 0. to obtain the maximum profit. So it's negative 3 over 2x plus a 50. That's going to give you, you equate it to a 0, and then you take this to the other side. You have 3 over 2x is equal to a 15 over there. Okay, now you divide both sides by 3 over 2, and then your answer is simply a 10x over there. So that is the daily output required to find the maximum profit. So now the last question is asking for you to show that the cost of baking, or show that the cost of baking is a minimum at 10. The cost of baking is minimum at 10. All right, my good people. So what we're actually going to do, we're required to find or to show that the cost of baking is minimum at 10. All right, fine. Let me create this piece so that, okay, we have our formula which of which it was cost is equal to, or the profit. Is it? No, it's not the, it's the, yes, that one for the cost. It was equal to 1 over 4 x squared plus 35 plus 25 over there. So my question to you, what do you think will happen if I divide this number by x? X is the number of cakes. Okay, so if I divide by the number of cakes, I'm actually going to get, or okay, the number of scones. Okay, I'm getting, they said show that the costing or the cost of baking is minimum at 10. Okay, but we have our cost over there. If we divide our cost with the number of scones that are baked in a day, what we're going to get is actually the cost of baking the scones. I don't know if that makes sense. So here we have to divide by the number of scones sold in a day over there. So now, having done that, or having done this, we're actually going to simplify this before we put the derivation, because minimum must be the first derivative. Maximum and minimum is the first derivative. So which means when I work this out, I'm going to have 1 over 4 x, 1 over 4 x, because I have to first derive this one. Here I have an x over there. So when I'm working this out, I have to, so what I'm going to do here, I need to have 4x squared. I'm going to break this everything down to the individual. I have x divided by x plus 35, x divided by x, and then I have plus 25. I'm sure most of you understand what I'm doing now. So having done that, I'm just going to cancel and cancel 1x. I'm left with 1 over 4x, and then cancel, I'm left with what? 35. And then here, to work this out, I'm going to have 25 x to the power negative 1, because when I take this up there, I have to have a power of negative 1 over there. So having done that, now I'm going to apply my derivative. Okay, so to apply my derivative, when I derivate this one, I have 1 over 4. This one, the derivative of this one is 0, and then that's going to be negative 25 x to the power negative 2. So now, to find the minimum, I have to put the first derivative being equal to 0. So I'm going to say the cost, the first derivative of the cost must be equal to 0, of which is 1 over 4 minus 25 x minus 2 is equal to a 0 over there. So now I'm going to take this to the other side. I'm going to have 1 over 4 being equal to 25 x minus 2. All right, fine. So from there, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this back, and then I'm going to have 25 divided by x squared is equal to 1 over 4. This is what I now have. And then I cross multiply. I have x squared is equal to 100. Okay. And then when I apply this, the square root over here, I'm going to get x being equal to plus or minus 10. And then, but you know that our x, because we're talking about money here, must be just 10 over there. Okay, so that is what they wanted us to show. And then you can also conclude that it is a minimum. They wanted us to show that. Then thank you for watching.